going to be good. Next thing you know, they're chest to chest, screaming and yelling, and I'm thinking, let me get in this room with this chick real quick and I can avoid all this shit. All of a sudden, the fists start flying, the bitch clocks me in the side of the head. For whatever reason, I don't know, because I was there. Now, we're all at the top of this flight of stairs, we're all tangled up in arms and legs, and we fall. We roll down the fucking stairs. Bam, bam, bam. I'm getting knocked to hell because I'm on the bottom of all this. I wind up on the sidewalk on my stomach. Now, I see this big guy standing next to me. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to take him out with a punch to his knee. Well, I did take him out. He fell on top of me, grabs me by the back of the head, starts smashing my face into the fucking concrete. So now I'm all fucked up. All of a sudden, I hear this sound like somebody hitting a slab of meat with a fucking baseball bat. Al somehow got a parking meter loose from the curb and was swinging it at people. All right? So now, this is getting even worse because Danny gets his dogs out of the truck. This one guy comes out with an overcoat and he's reaching and he goes, "You're coming any closer, I'm going to shoot them fucking dogs." Al throws the parking meter at him. The cops show up. My face is all swollen up and shit. Now, this is how the cops were back then. You guys from Jersey? Yeah. Go back there. You got 5 minutes to get out of here. We all pile in the van. My face is all swelling up. I turn around. This fucker's happy. He got in a nice fight. He had fun. I turned around and I said, "You didn't call that guy a nigger, did you?" "I wouldn't do that." I hit him in the face anyway, because I think he did.
That's how it started.
That's how it started.
Keep
So
your damn yap shut. That's funny.
That was the weirdest little fuck up I was ever involved in with that, where we actually lived and didn't wind up in the hospital or in jail for the night.
You know, as you spent the better part of 25 years hanging around on the deuce, you always meet some extremely strange people. Man, do you have any recollections of some of the characters you ran into?
I met people that I didn't know were very dangerous at the time, because you didn't delve into somebody's personal shit because you were like drinking buddies. And then when you started hanging out with people, and you know, you're sitting in the diner and the guy reaches in to pull a handkerchief out and drops a 38 on the floor and just picks it up real quick, you know you're in bad company. So I ran into a lot of weirdos like that. There was one guy, remember when the feds were turning real scumbags to be informers? We had a major...
As opposed to when? As opposed to when?
This would have been mid-late 70s.
This was mid-to-late 70s when it came out.
They did it. We had a lot of mob guys in Cleveland, and I had a couple buddies whose dad was in the mob, and that's when it started going down, so I know the era, just so you know it.
They were basically turning complete scumbag career criminals into, like, quote, informers, but these guys were only informing and lying about stuff, and this guy was basically terrorizing a whole area because the feds were protecting him, and he'd get, you know, in trouble, and then all of a sudden he'd be out again. And what they were looking for was this other guy who I unfortunately got friendly with and found out that he robbed banks for a living. That was his thing. And he'd tell you about this like, "I graduated law school. I'm a doctor. I rob banks." Okay. I didn't buy the whole story until his roommate goes, "I came home, there's a pile of ones on one side of the room, there's a pile of fives, there's a pile of tens, there's a pile of 20s, and sandbags." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They did some bank or something where this guy who was the roommate had a dump truck. And what they did was they put all this sand in the back of the dump truck. So when these guys hit the bank and they ran out, they ran past the dump truck, tossed the bags in the back of the dump truck. This guy just took off like he was working, slammed on the brakes, and the sand covered the bags. So they never got him. So yeah, so I run into this shit, and I'm like, okay, this is wonderful. So it wound up that this junkie that the feds were working was supposed to get this guy. And all of a sudden, the guy found out about it and was trying to get this other guy. And, like, you'd hear about these bars getting shot up the next day where you weren't there. I stopped hanging out for a while. This got so nuts. One night, this guy was sitting home watching TV, and somebody put 9 shots through a window. The last shot hit him in the chest, and he died. And they never could pin it on this guy. He always had an alibi. But they nailed him on one of the bank things. And now, here's a strange twist of fate with a movie. There's a penitentiary in Illinois that's stories underground. Gotti was there. It's like real maximum security. Well, that's where this guy wound up. Now, I don't know if you remember about a helicopter hijacking back in the 70s where they copied the movie Breakout and tried to land, but somehow the pilot got a hold of a gun and killed the one who hijacked it. He was involved in this shit. So there was another thing where, you know, I never kept in touch because I didn't really give a shit. I heard these stories and stuff. It wound up that he was moved to a Pennsylvania prison, which was still federal, but he got knifed in the chow line and died. And the irony is he's buried 20 feet from the guy he shot. So that's really fucked up stuff. I met a lot of crazy people. Just being in New York. You know?
Well, I've met a lot of crazy people since I started this show.
How about liquidators? You can't beat the crazy people.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We've talked about it before, but New York Liquidators was an awesome fucking place. Norm was insane. I'll let Pete describe Norm because he worked for him. But I used to go when I went to New York Liquidators was basically just a giant warehouse. And it was full of crap. Whatever Norm would buy. And I'd go looking through videos, and he'd just let you go. He'd be like, this is back in the 80s. I went, and he'd say, whatever you find's $5. So I used to go looking for like Mexican Santa movies, anything I could bootleg at the time. And it was just an insane place. And I'm going to let Pete tell a little bit about Norm and Liquidators. And you actually went to the... I have something here where you guys actually went to the East Coast Video Show one time. First fill them in for a little bit about Norm and a little bit about New York Liquidators, and then tell us the East Coast Video Show.
Don't forget to highlight some of Norm's monkey-brained attempts at money-making schemes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you can't mention a Norm without monkey-brained attempts to make money.
I don't know if you guys remember way back when they had counterfeit Rolexes. And they bust in New York, and they put all the Rolexes on the street in front of the store. They took them out of and went over them with a steamroller. That was Norm. Norm was about 5 feet nothing. He looked like a demented Santa Claus. He had white hair. He used to run horses. He was completely out of his mind, and he'd tell you right to your face, "I'm the worst scoundrel in New York." I got introduced to him when he was doing used tapes, and I didn't know he was also doing bootleg tapes. Probably the biggest bootleg tape distributor in New York. But I didn't care because I wasn't doing it. But he was selling all this cool shit, and then one night I got a phone call. Turn on Channel 7 News. They're leading all these guys out of this store in handcuffs. I'm like, holy shit, they finally got him. But I'm looking, and I'm going, he had all these Mexican kids working for him, like 3 or 4 of them. I don't see the Mexican kids on the chain gang. So I'm like, okay, so yeah, we're friends. I'm a loyal guy. We're going, don't go back there. The feds are watching. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm not doing nothing, so why should I care? So he got out. I was one of the first guys down there. I said, look, dude, anything you need. And he goes, oh, I appreciate this. A lot of people fuck me, you know. You're a good friend. And he goes, do me a favor. Flag down that garbage truck. I'm like, okay. I flag down a garbage truck. Money changes hands. He dumps what the feds didn't take so they wouldn't come back in the garbage truck. About 30 hand trucks full of bootleg tapes. So, you know, after a while, I was doing my thing. I'm not working for him. This was like one of the highlights of my life. This man was legitimately nuts. He wouldn't turn down a deal. And part of my deal going to work for him was, you're not going to do anything to get me thrown in the federal penitentiary. I'm sorry. I'll stop you. So...
What about a state penitentiary? You do the line at the feds.
I'd rather go with the feds.
I'd rather go to Fed. I'll take that back. I'll do the Fed. State one sucks. But he was one of the first guys to get in on the DVD stuff. And he decided that he wants to do the East Coast Video Show in Atlantic City. But Norm doesn't want to pay nobody, especially the Teamsters. So the first time he went down there was like the tail end of the VHS tapes. We had 100 cartons of VHS tapes. He wouldn't pay the Teamsters, so he hand carried 100 cartons of VHS tapes into the convention center in Atlantic City.
Norm was funny. Norm would be the guy that would buy an entire truckload of Coleco systems 5 years after it was obsolete and sell the whole damn lot for a $6 profit. I mean, he was that kind of guy.
Well, the first he called me up, he goes, I got a fabulous deal. I got video games. What kind? Oh, whatever name brand, you got to come over. Come on, fucking ColecoVision, give me a break. What are the Segas now? What's the problem?
He was in there, bloop, 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 playing Pong and thinking he could make a profit on it.
Somebody bought him. I don't know if I told this the last time. He had records. Records that nobody in their right mind would give a shit about. And he had them up in the store. And we had a basement. I said, let's get them downstairs. Somebody will buy them. I said, dude, nobody's going to buy this shit. I said, the day you sell this, I'll give you $100. So I conned him into moving them downstairs, and I kept beefing. Why don't we throw them out? Why don't we throw them out? He found somebody and sold them, and I had to give him $100.
Vinny's sitting there. Did you ever go through Liquidators? You were one of the guys I always went through in the 80s.
Yeah, he used to come down. I think you were there when I was there a couple times.
Yeah, he'll vouch for us. Norm was different.
Yeah. And he used to get the greatest career criminals in there, and murderers and shit, and gaudy guys, and all kinds of people. I had a beef with a guy. He's like, you see, you understand in Norm's world, 8 pieces could be paid for by a dozen. He'd wholesale tapes by a dozen, but if somebody took 8 pieces, that was a dozen. So one day somebody switched some stuff on me, and I caught him, and I got like, I'm just like, Over in New York, you didn't back down. It was just that simple. You